Hey lawyers, today I'm welcoming Michael Sullivan. He's a Social Security disability benefit lawyer from Louisville, Kentucky with a very successful practice. I've worked with Mike for years handling his marketing and video production. I'm talking to Mike about what you could expect if you started a Social Security disability benefit firm. In this video, we're also going to touch on Mike's other practice area, which is long-term disability benefits when people get denied. There's 3 ways to work with us. Our agency does it all for you, online coaching, and self-study courses. Michael Sullivan started Sullivan Law Office in honor of his dad, who had been a disability attorney for 20 years before him. Mike is passionate about carrying on that tradition, but Mike is also personal, he's honest, he's understanding, and most of all, he's really empathetic, which I think is part of what's built him such a beautiful and successful law practice. But on top of all that, I love working with Mike because he's funny and he doesn't take himself too seriously. He tries to find a little bit of joy and humor in pretty much everything he does. Mike is simply always working to become or be the best disability lawyer that his clients can count on. So without further ado, let's go meet Michael Sullivan. Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know that a lot of people are going to get so much out of what we're talking about, and that is Social Security disability and long-term disability benefit practice area. I know that your dad actually started the law firm, but did he practice Social Security disability?
He started general civil practice way back. And by the time I came along, it was mostly Social Security disability and some workers' comp. I came along in about 1990. And I went to engineering school, worked as an engineer, went to law school, thought I would do patent law. Never touched a patent in my life. Got a scholarship to the University of Louisville, came back to Louisville. Just never left. My dad had a small boutique practice.
So how do you end up with one main practice area?
And that's just what came in the door. And in those days, that's what you ate, what you killed. So those were the cases. And there were a lot of them and a lot of worthy people who needed help getting those benefits. And after a while, you become consumed with one practice area. You get a knowledge base that becomes very unique to just that. Somebody calls you for a will, you're like, no, haven't done one in 5 years. The law probably changed, not doing it.
Yeah.
Works, can't do it, I'll do you more harm than good. And so it didn't take too many years. That's right. We used to joke and say the idea of one lawyer does it all is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Mess it all up is a better way to say it.
It's probably just too complicated.
It does.
Yeah.
So it's what came in the door, and it's what I ended up doing a whole lot of. And then you get immersed in regulations and rulings and court stuff, and suddenly it's just what you do.
Have you actually been practicing longer than some of the judges that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of judges, they come to the judge bench, so to speak, a little later in their career. But yes, I've been practicing longer than some of the judges had even been lawyers. And I've been practicing. I know, I'm aging myself horribly here.
That's okay. I think part of the reason it's kind of fun to share your knowledge is we get to a certain place in life where you've been doing something a long, long time. And I kind of feel that way too, where you just want to share what you know and maybe help somebody else. And that's kind of the point of doing this video is what's it like to be a Social Security disability benefit lawyer?
This particular field, you deal with people who they're already in a bad spot or they wouldn't be calling you. It's just something's wrong with their health, something's wrong with their life. So many things cave in on them. They're needy. And in some respects, it can be very rewarding because you help some really deserving people.
So if we were talking to someone who thought, I'd like to add this practice area into my firm, or I tried it and it just didn't work, what kind of advice would you have for somebody like that? Like they really want to make this work.
From a lawyer standpoint, if you're starting out in this field, okay, It's funny when I'd have new lawyers, I'd joke with them and say, okay, you're going to be about useless for 6 months. You're gonna
Oh,
be
that's good to
dangerous.
know.
Yeah, you're going to be
Yeah.
dangerous for 2 years. After that, you should have about 80% of what you need, and the rest just trickles in. I
Yeah.
would tell them, I say, look, if you have a question, call somebody who's done it for a while. We help everybody. There's two national groups. They put on a national conference once a year, different times of the year. Pick one, go, immerse yourself for a week, forget the world.
Oscar.
Oscar's one, Nadar's the other.
Yeah.
They both put out good content, good scholarship.
Yeah.
The point of it is, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. You'll learn more in a week than you would stumbling through months. I make all my new lawyers go first chance it comes on the cycle.
It wasn't like you went to law school thinking I'm going to be a social security disability
Yeah,
lawyer.
it wasn't a thing then.
Do you generally think like when your waiting room is full, are you thinking to yourself like, okay, I'm ready to see these people and I'm it because the reason I'm asking that is I have lawyers who think, oh no, they're in my waiting room and I don't want to see these people,
Well,
so
it's funny. Since COVID broke out, the waiting rooms aren't full. We do so much by phone, by video, by mail, by email, docu-sign stuff. Yeah, I understand what you mean. The concept of a full waiting room is just,
yeah,
maybe towards the end of the day, you start to wear down and you're not as upbeat. But it doesn't change the fact that somebody saw you out and they're in a bad spot. So you put aside being a professional. You gotta be sensitive to what they're living with.
yeah,
You
yeah,
can't be a jerk. You can't rush them. And again, it's not just you helping them; they're sizing you up, right?
yes,
You may
yes.
be brilliant, but you're an unpleasant person. I can't work with you. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's absolutely not what you want to project. Show me that warmth because that's what I need to see. For some people, it's just not there. But
That's
never,
a good tidbit right there, is just that you want to be really warm with these people and what they're going through.
and not just that, but when they sense that, that's when
Yeah.
you get word of mouth referral. If you think about marketing and building a practice, you can't buy a word of mouth referral in your.
So here's a really kind of raw question. If there's thinking they want to start a Social Security disability benefit practice, how long does it take to
Wow.
start getting paid?
Getting paid. Oh, okay. That's a good question. You
Yeah.
don't get paid till you win the case. Start with that.
Yeah.
And the life cycle of a case can be 4 to 6 months to 2 to 3 years in general.
Wow.
Most of my cases wrap up in about a year and a half to 2 years. I would
Okay.
say three-fourths of them wrap up in that zone.
I kind of know
Um,
these answers, but
I
I'm just
know,
asking.
I
Yeah.
know. And once you've won the case,
Mhm.
the delightful aspect of trying to get paid by the agency kicks in. I'm still chasing fees from them for 2 years ago, but in general,
You mean from Social Security?
yes, that's exactly what I mean. I wasn't trying to name them outright, but yeah,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they have these regional payment centers that calculate your fees, withhold them, and pay them, assuming they don't forget to withhold them and assuming they calculate it right. That being said, in 60, 90 days after a favorable decision, you should be paid in at least three-fourths of your cases.
Okay, at
And
least three-fourths.
it runs pretty smooth for about 75, 80% of the time. It just happens.
Yeah.
And then there's outliers, there always are, and there's cases that drag on. So I would tell people if you're just starting out, you need to be able to finance your law firm for 2 to 3 years because
Yeah.
you pay for an income stream. I kid you not, my first year of practice, fee income was $7,000.
Oh God. Did you have student loans?
I did.
Oh God, Mike.
I did. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. I think
Well, I just that
second year
that's
was about 40. And then the third year, it approached close to six figures. But then I was putting in 50-hour weeks, right?
yeah.
As you think about the progression of a young lawyer working. But yeah, but you got to be able to feed the animal for 2 years if you're starting from scratch.
So I know a lot of the answers to these, but how did your practice go during COVID? Do you feel like as a Social Security disability lawyer, did you stay busy enough?
In the beginning of COVID, when the country kind of shut down, no,
Yeah.
we never actually shut down. The agency geared up. It took them a couple months to get their work from home thing going, and then they tried to get back in the game. And
Yeah.
within about 6 to 9 months of COVID hitting, we were back at about the same pace of dealing with clients, court appearances, and such.
The
With the
agency. I
exception
like
of,
the way you call them the agency.
with the exception of in person in the building. That was
Yeah.
the biggest change. And
Yeah.
we spent a lot on postage, then we switched to email, UPS, whatever it took to get the flow of information.
Yeah.
And the agency switched to phone hearings and video hearings. I had
Are
my
you,
first in-person hearing in two
I was
years.
just going to say, are you back? You're back to
Yeah,
in person?
back to in-person. Yeah, it started about a month ago. I had my own this month for the first time,
Here's
and
a question. Is it
kind of cool.
harder? Is it harder in person or easier or the same?
For me, it's all the same. I think it's harder on the clients because they're in a room, there's somebody in a black robe, they're swearing you in, you're
Yeah.
there at the microphone. A little more intimidating than being home on your phone or in a computer screen. That being said, there are a certain class of client you absolutely want in front of the judge.
Yeah.
It's
And
more,
maybe we've done a lot of videos about how clients should behave in front of judges, and I'm wondering if maybe if they're in front of the judge in person, it might be easier on you a little bit to keep your clients sort of focused.
it depends on what I'm trying to illustrate during the hearing. If you have somebody who's got significant mental health challenges and they're looking down and doing this with their fingers and they're mumbling and you realize they're about to lose it every 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
you change pace with this very calm, flowing voice, telling them to breathe. And the judge gets visually what this person's living with, even with minor stressors. That's a great thing
Yeah.
in front of the judge. Um, Maybe the next case is spine surgery, the judge 5,000th spinal fusion. You know,
Well, yeah.
okay, what are you going to tell me about this? I haven't heard. So that one you could do by phone or video, keep them home. And so, oddly enough, it's the client's choice.
Oh, wow.
It is. I can tell them what I think, but it's their call. If they want in person, we go.
Oh, that's really cool. Do you think they're going to keep it that way?
Yeah, yeah,
That's so
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I think the options are great because it gives a lot of flexibility in a system that was previously not very flexible.
Yeah. And if we were going to wrap this up about somebody starting a brand new practice area that was Social Security disability benefits, is there some things that you can warn them about and or maybe encourage them?
Well, the first warning is how long it takes to get paid. We've
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah.
The second thing is when you're doing this, not all attorney-client relationships are perfect the whole way. A client can discharge you. You have a fee lien on the case, but it doesn't mean you'll ever get paid. So a lot of times, if a client discharges you midstream, there's about a 99% chance you'll probably never get paid in that case, even if it wins.
Ah,
Be ready for that. That's why good client relations pay off.
so these are kind of warnings.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens. Even though you have a lien, you necessarily don't get paid. And collections, if you try to collect against your client, Social Security benefits are protected by federal law from garnish, levy, attachment, all those things.
Okay.
So you can't really collect against them. It's kind of a bad idea anyway. I mean, they're in a bad spot. Who are you to
Yeah, go
make
collecting
them
and
worse?
attaching.
It's, it's kind of it's what it
Yeah.
is. And then I would say you have to get pagination software, which paginates the files by exhibit and page numbers so you can cite it to the judges. Because on the
Oh,
hearing
yeah.
boards, they have warnings. Representatives are expected to cite by exhibit and page number, which basically tells you read the file before you come in here, please. Know your
Yeah.
case.
Be
And
ready.
so you get software to do that. And then you need any case manager that will diary ticklers and reminders and statutes and deadlines. You absolutely need that. Most of them have some version of that.
Yeah.
Although Social Security is kind of unique on their appellate structure. So I would say that, and then get yourself to the first national conference you can go to.
Yes. This has really been good, Mike. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
this amount of great information about
Yes.
Social Security disability benefits. I
Mhm.
thought maybe let's just touch for a second on your other practice area. You also
Right.
do long-term
Long-term disability?
long-term disability when they deny somebody from their
Right.
long-term disability benefits. And how does that marry together? Is it similar as doing
Yeah,
Social
well,
Security?
similar is a better word. Is it similar? Yes. Is it identical? No. Understand that for long-term disability, people usually get that through work. I work at GE, I work at UPS, I work at the grocery chain, and they provide this insurance. So if I'm hurt, not necessarily on the job, just in general, hurt, sick, or injured, can't work, there's this insurance that is a salary replacement of some kind.
Yeah,
And they call that short-term or long-term disability. The idea being is insurance companies are never happy to pay the claim. They
yeah,
seem, or it appears as if they're in the business of collecting a premium, not paying a claim. And they simply find various ingenious, often comical reasons to deny or terminate benefits. And then they come to us and we do the appeals. And you have administrative processes. And if you exhaust those unsuccessfully, you have a right to file actual litigation in a court. And that usually goes exclusively to federal court. It's all done on paper. There's really no trial. It's a different animal. It's not something you want to mess with casually. There's a
yeah.
lot of pitfalls in it. Um, and to drive the point home, the worst that happens to these insurance carriers in a court is a judge might say, okay, I think they're disabled. Go pay them. And they say, okay, I get my money. And they're all excited. I go, no, it took them 11 to 14, say 14 months to win this case. You get 14 months of your back pay in a check.
Yeah.
They write you a monthly check or two and suddenly send you to Dr. Feelgood, who says you're the picture of health. You've recovered completely. You can
Mm.
go do a CrossFit competition for as far as they're concerned. And suddenly
Yeah.
you're cut off.
Yeah.
You're like, what did I really win here? So
Yeah.
you have to understand with the client, what they are going to win in court is not necessarily what's in their mind, what they're
Oh,
thinking.
yeah.
They're thinking,
Yeah.
okay, pay me the whole policy. I'm good. I'm done. And that almost never happens. And
Those insurance companies. Ah.
creative, clever, ingenious ways to avoid paying the claim, to deny it, to terminate you.
Yeah.
They use private detectives. They check all your social media. I had one in court and they put a bunch of photos of a guy at motorcycle rallies with beers, down the road. I'm like, oh my God, they had somebody
Ah.
in the park. They do it. I mean, it just is. And you have to be prepared to deal with those things. And you got to instruct your client on the front end.
We've done a lot of videos about for clients in that practice area too, where we're trying to educate them to just
Lay
stop
low,
with the
fly under the
vacations.
radar.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I would say, those cases, a lot of times what happens is the disabling event, they happen to have the long-term insurance policy and that they're not going to go back to work for a year. So they file for Social Security and they get this long-term and they say, these devils cut me off. Then they bring it to you as the lawyer.
Ah, I
You're like,
see.
and what I would just tell people, don't do it casually. There's too many pitfalls.
Yeah.
And missing one is fatal. And
So,
so,
what percentage of your cases would be long-term disability over Social Security
uh,
disability?
I would say 10% of the case volume I take on is long-term disability.
Yeah.
What we're finding is the policies that are being issued in later years are much shorter in duration, much more limited in benefits. And what happens is people simply exhaust the payout in 6 to 12 months. You
Yeah.
no longer see those 5, 10, 15-year payout windows in the policies. The insurance carriers got smart. They cut the window that they had to pay, and that's how they kept the premium affordable
Ah.
to the employer. Again, to put it in perspective, just go price a policy with your local insurance broker.
Yeah.
See what the sticker shock is amazing.
Sticker shock. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that kind of just naturally grew out of the Social Security disability
yeah,
benefit.
because the people they had the questions, they already had the relationship with me and the law firm,
Mm,
and they would say, "Oh my God, I have this from an insurance carrier, and they say they're not going to pay me. How am I going to live? This is what I've been living. I bought this insurance. They said they pay me for, well, the short
yeah.
answer, they never actually said that, but bring it in. We do this every day,
Yeah.
and we'll take a look.
So,
And
are there a lot of similarities between the insurance companies on these kind of things, or are each one of them really different?
I call that degrees of evil. Um, I I really do, because
Yeah.
some are a little more insidious and evil and much more eager to cut them off and much more apt to hire private detectives. I mean, I had somebody walking like a miniature poodle, and instead of saying it was a miniature poodle, they said your client walked their dog aggressively in the park. And I'm going, the dog weighed 4.5 pounds. Come on. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, there's two or three, I call them the ringleaders. The two or three carriers make up probably three-fourths of my litigation practice, where I'm actually
Okay.
suing them for benefits. Oh,
And you
actually,
get used to what their game is or whatever.
you ever watch Star Trek and the Borg? Remember the Borg? They would always
Yes, I love the
modify,
Borg.
adapt. The insurance carriers adapt to the lawsuits that are successful. They change the policy terms, they change their practices,
Oh my
and they
gosh.
change the payout terms. So that being said, they're very adaptive, and what used to work a couple years ago does no longer work. So basically, you
Uh,
have to read the essential policy terms and
yep.
put it in perspective. It's a very legitimate case, and their treating doctor backs them. The case will probably be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the carriers are very creative.
Do
And
you enjoy those cases more than Social Security or about the
yeah,
same?
because the defense firms that represent them, they put up a good fight, but they're also very honorable. I have yet to meet a dishonorable defense lawyer on one of these cases.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
yeah, well, they're big ivory tower firms for the most
Yeah.
part. They're very good at what they do. They're very knowledgeable, and they know when they're going to lose, or they know when there's a significant risk, and they will put some money on the table that you can take to your client. And that's refreshing because you have two knowledgeable parties.
Yeah.
One of them wants the surprise of what the judge might do. So sometimes you can get a nice settlement in the wind there, if you will. And so I found most of the defense lawyers, like the ones I've come against for 20, 30 years in this practice, they've all been very honorable and knowledgeable.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty good.
It's been my luck in this industry, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are the same ones, and you develop relationships with them.
Yeah.
And if you don't blow the smoke, they don't knife you in the back. It's that kind of thing.
Oh, that's
You need
nice.
more time. They sure nobody objects to any of that stuff. And
So,
but
okay, well, do you think it would
yeah,
be possible for one of our law firms who would be watching this to just start the long-term disability benefit practice without the Social Security? Or do you think this
yeah,
would
there
be?
are firms that specialize in that, and
Yeah.
that's nationwide. And it usually grew. The two I'm thinking of grew from Social Security firms.
Ah.
And that particular field of law just grew for them, and they're
Mhm.
very, very good at it.
Mm.
And I mean, when I don't have cases in my jurisdiction, I refer them to those two firms because I know they do national work.
Ah.
And the National Disability Conferences usually have at least one or two talks on long-term disability. And of course, you know who presents from these select firms that comes in. And so, they're very
Yeah.
good at what they do. I think highly of them. So
Oh,
yes,
that's
it's a
nice.
viable field. And I
Yeah.
do refer out to national firms when my client moves to Florida or whatever happens.
Very good. All right. Oh my God, I feel like we got so much juicy information out of you today. Okay, so one last question before we sign off. What was the name of that artist?
All right.
There was an artist that you played in your car when we were going from Nashville to Kentucky.
Oh,
It's kind
God.
of a bearded band that was like looked like big bears, and you were saying, well, they don't have a whole
Zach
state.
Brown Band.
What are they?
Zach Brown Band. Zach, ZACBROWN Band.
Yes. That's the band of the day for this particular video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Zach Brown. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
good bands.
Zach Brown, some songwriting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great videos. Great videos.
I think one of the ones was Colder Weather that had that video on my phone to that one.
That was it. Colder weather. Ah, you got some great tunes out there, Mike.
All right, Mary, we
All right,
good?
Mike. Thank you so much for joining me for this. I think this is going to turn out so good for these guys. It's just a lot of great information. Very, very kind and giving of you to give all of this so that we can present it,
Tell everybody I said hey. It's always
I
great.
will. All right, Mike.
Do well.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye.